And hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Shabbat Show. So happy to be back with you again. It is incredible how these weeks are flying by. Thank you so much for tuning back in. Thank you so much for being a part of this family. You know, back in the old days, I got to tell you, I used to look forward to this show, but it would come like an hour before Shabbat. Remember those days? Like in May? And now I feel like Shabbat's coming already. As soon as I sit down to this show, I'm like, oh, we're almost here. Thanks so much for being part of the show. The show is again sponsored as a program of the Carl Enoch Goldman Center for Jewish Values, dedicated by Jay Goldman. We thank you for that dedication. And today's show is, I think, a critical one. You know, the sign of wisdom comes from distinctions. If you live in Alaska, you will be able to make a distinction between different types of snow. If you're a doctor, you can make distinctions that other people can't make. The more you understand something, the more you can define the different properties of things. As we grow in our own wisdom, we have to understand that there's aspects of our lives that require definitions, distinctions, what it is and what it's not. And on that list, at the top of the list, is the word love. Love is the core of our lives. The principle in Torah, klal gadol b'Torah, is v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. You have to love your friend like yourself. We daven and we say, ahavas olam, ahavtich. God, you love us eternally. Well, what does love mean? Do I love my family like I love the Yankees or I love fish? We say like, I love that, and I love that, and I love that, and I love that. But what does it mean, I love? What is the definition? What is the expansiveness? What are the distinctions of love? That's what we're going to talk about tonight. Critical for any aspect of your life, any aspect of your relationships. This isn't just about relationships. This is about one of the most fundamental aspects of our lives, which is love. We got a great show for you. We got great people on the show. We got Mrs. Hootie Abrams from Dallas, Texas coming in. We got Rabbi Della Goldwasser from Brooklyn. We got Rabbi Stephen Bars from Washington, D.C., Rebbitzin Esti from the U.K. Just understand, we're going to Dallas, Brooklyn, Washington, and the UK tonight. I mentioned at the beginning, we got incredible video with women's Carol Drucker and Jamie Pro. We got great videos. We got a great show coming up, and we're excited to delve into such an incredible aspect. And I hope by the time we're done, we have a little more insight as to something that is so critical in our lives, love. Please feel free always to give us a Shabbat Shalom. We love seeing it. If you're on Zoom, check us out on Zoom. If not, you can go to my Facebook page and wish us Shabbat Shalom. And it's not just so we can wish you back. It's also so that everybody hears us wish each other Shabbat Shalom. And so please do that. Feel free to do that here. And we look forward to the show. Let's begin with this incredible video, The Essentials of Lasting Love. Check this out.
I was sitting in the handwriting analyst waiting room, filling out the application, which called for the drawing of a tree on one page. There were other people there also drawing trees. The fellow next to me drew a huge tree in the middle of the page, but the fellow next to him drew a little tree over in the bottom corner. When Mr. Big Tree noticed what Mr. Little Tree drew, I could see that Big Tree was dying to say something, but he hesitated. Excuse me, you made a mistake. Oh no, what did I do wrong? You're supposed to draw a tree on the whole page, not the corner. And besides, that's a shrub, not a tree. Here, you see, this is a tree. Oh, wow. Thanks so much. Little Tree erased his tree and copied the Big Tree's drawing. And the whole time I'm cracking up inside because they both got it wrong. My tree was the right one. We often mistakenly think that we see things the way they are, when in fact we see things the way we are. And then we assume that the way we see it is the only way it could be. Sometimes it doesn't even dawn on us that there could be another way of seeing it. True and lasting love needs respect, understanding, and communication. Respecting other people's point of view doesn't mean you agree, but at least try to understand things from their vantage point, because only then can there be real communication towards understanding, respecting, and loving each other. The miracle and ecstasy of love is that we can be one and yet not the same. You and me don't have to agree for there to be a loving we.
Thank you, Rabbi Aaron, for that. I don't think this could have come at a better time than right now. What's going on in the world, the recognition of just the differences of people and just how critical it is that we respect each other, and just being able to see it from someone else's perspective as a condition, if you will, to beginning to understand love in a much more deeper way. Our first guest is Mrs. Hudi Abrams. She is an adult educator, co-founder of the Jewish Learning Center of Dallas, and a mom of 7. She runs family programs, events, and classes for women, and has led hundreds of women on life-changing missions to Israel through Momentum. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Good to see you, Charlie.
It is great to see you as well, and we appreciate you being on and all that you do for the Jewish people from Dallas, Texas, and beyond. So we've always heard this concept as we build the idea of love. The way I think we think of love is it is my relationship to other, but yet there's also a concept called self-care. How does one balance that, which is sort of loving self and loving other? How do you put that together?
Okay, so first of all, really the precursor to any healthy relationship is self-love. Because if you understand your inherent value, just by virtue of the fact that God put you in this world, that means that you're worthy of love. And then you have space inside yourself to fully receive love from others and to give love to others. So that's number one. And self-love automatically leads into self-care, because if you're not caring for yourself, then, there's nothing to give. So, nowadays, self-care it's a big word. It's used and probably overused. And I think that most of the time when people mention self-care, what they're referring to are the physical ways we could care for ourselves, like eating right and exercise and going for that massage and, just taking care of our bodies. But if we want something that will be long-lasting self-care, then we want to go a little bit further. And that's what I call spiritual self-care. And that is what that is about, is really getting to know your internal world and what makes you tick, what gets you excited, what fills you with vitality and excitement.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So I guess as you delve into that, I guess the question is, when does self-care stop, right? Is there such a concept like this where I can see someone being like, listen, I really want to love very badly, so let me start working on myself. And when I'm done with that, we can move on to others. And decades can go by. So how does one know if they're doing it right? Which sounds to me the way in which you care for self to be able to give to others versus when you're just focusing on yourself.
Okay, so that's a great question. I'll be honest with you, I'm still trying to figure it out, just getting that balance of making sure that I'm caring for my physical self, my internal world, and giving to others at the same time. One doesn't contradict or negate the other. It's a matter of having the different pieces in your life in balance. Mm-hmm. So what I've seen from my own life and from coaching others in this area over the last decade and change is that when you're in touch with who you really are and what makes you tick, then it gives others permission to step into their greatness. It kind of it just spills out of you. Mm. When you think about the people that you're most comfortable with, they're probably people that are comfortable in their own skin.
Right. Yeah. And I guess it's an excellent point. I think that if you hear the word self-care, and I think this is a distinction that you're drawing, which is critical for us to hear, which is, if you think of self-care as physical self-care, right, you may still have the same emotional, spiritual issues that are preventing you from actually caring for others. If you're thinking of self-care as spiritual self-care, which is really the building of self in an internal way, then as you build yourself spiritually, you're going to be overflowing to give to others. And so really, it's this self-growth and self-care on a spiritual side that you're saying is what self-care is for giving to others.
Exactly. Because the more that the more that you understand what your special light is to give to the world, the more energy you're going to have, the more positive energy you're going to
Yeah.
exude. And that allows other people to feel comfortable around you and calm around you. And it gives them the space to step into their greatness when you're in that zone and tapped into that zone.
Amazing. Can you give us like a practical example of what we can do to work on this? Like, what can be something that we take away that allows us to move into this area of, sort of spiritual self-care?
Okay, so when you think about it, for children, we would never tell our kids not to take care of their bodies, not to get enough sleep, but we also would never tell our children, just crush your dreams, just forget about them, they're never going to happen, right?
You hope.
Right, we hope, exactly. And again, we're all figuring this out as parents, and
Right.
it's a journey. But the point being that when it comes to ourselves, so yes, we got to take care of our bodies, and we also have to take care of this part of ourselves that's yearning to understand why we're here and what the legacy is that we're meant to leave on the world. So it's a drive that human beings were created with. It's something that until we figure out what that thing is, that missing piece, we're not at peace. So what I would suggest as a practical takeaway is to really explore what is going on inside of you, what makes you excited, what has a potential to pull you out of bed in the morning, and think about people in your lives that are living with life purpose. When you see them, you're like, whatever they're taking, I want some of that, right? So you can have it. You can have it by learning to tune into yourself. And there are very specific ways, which, we don't have time for right now, but there are specific tools to tap into to help you discover this. One really quick tool that I could share is to think about what are 5 to 10 of the most pleasurable experiences you've had in your lifetime. And I don't mean physical experiences. I mean experiences that fill you up so much. You can go for hours without sleeping, without eating. They're just like, they literally just fill you up. So that's one practical tool. And another one is to think about, in your lifetime, what are things that made your blood boil? Meaning your mess is your mission. What are those things that really drove you to a place of, oh my gosh, I just can't. This makes me so angry or upset, or they keep coming up in your life. And that could give you a clue into what your life purpose is. And when you live with this, tapped into this sense of life purpose and knowing why you're here, again, it will give you vitality and energy that spills over to all of your relationships and gives you more capacity to love and receive love.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. I think this is an incredible concept that really can build people internally into being bigger people that can ultimately love to others. Thank you, and continue shining your light on this world. And that was Hoodie Abrams. What an incredible concept to really delve into that for a few minutes. It seems like it's a luxury, no? Take a minute and think about the things that really get us the most excited, things that we would do forever, things that light us up, as a way to tap into more of that so that we are actually bigger people that can give to others. Love, self-care, spiritual self-care leads to love. Well, we had a chance to interview a few Project Inspire women on how they define love. Check this out.
Hi, I'm Carol Drucker. I live on the Upper West Side in New York City, and I'm involved with Project Inspire with the Long Island and Queens branches, and I attend and in some cases help to plan and execute events with city leaders and past participants. I look forward to the Shabbat show every week. And on Wednesday, I think only one more day. I'm so excited. It's very uplifting. And it inspires me to prepare for Shabbos. It gets me in the right mindset. I appreciate the great opportunity that the show provides for me to hear insights from people of different backgrounds on relevant subjects. And you do it every single week. I don't know how you do it, Charlie.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. An honor to be part of the show with you. Our next guest is Rabbi Stephen Bars. He has spoken all over the world, from the United States Senate to the famous Los Angeles Improv. He's a regular speaker at Fortune Magazine summits and the author of many books, including Bliss, the Marriage and Parenting book, and The Worst Marriage Advice in the World. He's also the creator of a highly popular motivational seminar, Think Like a Winner. Rabbi Barz and his wife Ruth are blessed with 7 children. Check out his website on getbliss.com or core9.live. Rabbi, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. I see a theme going on. People with 7 kids.
Exactly. I was noticing that as well. I was like, wait, is that how you have to get on this show? We need a lot of love. So those kids need love. We need to make sure those people are.
What are you going to do next week?
Right, exactly. Well, it's great to have you on, and you speak all over the place, and you write and you talk about these concepts. But let's sort of delve into this concept of definition of love. Why do we need to define love? I mean, isn't it just like a feeling that either I feel or I don't feel?
That's a fantastic. When I first came to Asia Torah, I met Rav Noach. He talked about that. That was like that's like the light bulb go off. Because you go up in the Western world and everything's a feeling, and you can't define love. That's a big theme, and he made it very clear that love is very clear, and there's a definition. And he pointed out love is the emotion we have when we focus on somebody's virtues. He was great. Everything had to be defined by him. He was a very articulate, intellectual kind of person. And when you have the definition of something, you have control over it. You can manage it. It's the same as a computer. For a lot of people, it's just a black box which just does things. But if you know how it works, you can master it. The same thing with emotions.
So let's delve into that. So the famous Rav Noach, principle of Noach, for those who are unfamiliar with Noach Weinberg, is the founder of Asia Torah, and he has a famous series on so many things. One of them was love. And so Rabbi Rav Noach would define love as the emotion you feel when you focus on the virtues of others.
That's right.
So let's sort of walk through that. How does that apply? I mean, take me through the scenario in which someone says, I want to increase love. How does Rav Noach say to go about do it? How does Rav Noach say to what to avoid? How does it work?
Well, he used to have a thing called the love game, and it's very powerful, especially because I do it in my marriage seminar, and you sit opposite each other, and you make a list of say 5 virtues. I adapted a little bit from Rav Noach, but I'll give you my version, but it's included in his version. And what you do is you sit opposite each other and you go through the virtues in tandem. Right, so your wife would say, "I love you, Charlie, because you're the best-looking guy out there."
I appreciate that. Thank you, Rabbi.
You're welcome. Anytime. I'm trying to give your wife some lines here.
I appreciate that. I'll feed that to her. I'll make sure she's watching.
And then you report back. You say, and when you focus on people's virtues and you identify them, you experience love, and we all have that. Whenever it is people we like, we can identify why it is we like them, and the opposite is also true. If you focus on people's problems, issues, you're going to hate them.
It's fascinating about what you're saying, and I love it, and I'll tell you why. Because this is why we're doing the show, right? Like in that. When you live in a life and you think that love is just this emotion that you can't put your hands on,
that's right.
Then some days you feel it, some days you don't. You find you hear words like "I've fallen in love." You know what I'm saying? You're like, what does that even mean? Like with whom and how? And you're trying to capture things.
Right.
But what you're saying is no, stop. You can actually capture it and actually bring it a lot more in your life if you just know how to manipulate the system.
In the good old days, remember the good old days, you had LPs, remember that? Was that before your time?
Maybe.
Long playing records, and you'd have
it's before my time.
Before your time, I'm sorry. So you'd have the guy would sing, the first song was "I love you so much, I love you so much," and the last song was "I can't stand you anymore." Right.
By the time he got to the end of the record, he was done. Exactly. He loved somebody else so much.
Which one is it?
So I really want people to put this into practice. So I'd love to give everybody, myself included, sort of like real work. Like, let's walk away from the show and be like, wait, I really want to play with this a little bit. So what I'm hearing you say is that this isn't, sort of like a metaphor, or this isn't some fleeting emotion. This is real stuff. This is intellectual stuff, which is, if I define it, which is why we do this, then I can now try to test it. So I would love to suggest, and tell me if this is a good idea, for this Shabbat, for somebody, whether they do it in person, and it doesn't have to be even a spouse, right? It could be a friend, it could be before Shabbat, whatever it is. If what you're saying is like this. If you pick somebody in your life, and if you're watching the show, just do it now. Pick someone in your life and identify, let's say 3, because 5 can take a little bit long. We want to make sure people are still paying attention to the show, right? What about the next guest? So take three traits
3 virtues.
that they represent that you love about them.
Right.
And what they should be experiencing is some heightened maybe feeling or awareness that Rav Noach would say that is the path, or that is love.
Exactly. Now, if you want to go a little deeper on that,
Let's do it.
okay, hang on, everybody. So pick virtues that you don't have.
Oh, that's even better.
Right?
That's good, Rabbi.
Okay. Now, what you'll find is fascinating is the virtues that you don't have are the reasons that person drives you crazy.
Huh.
You see, let's say, for instance, you love your spouse, for instance, which is a good person to love, right? And you love them because they're very organized. And I'm not very organized.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. They're so organized. But that reason I'm not organized is because I'm not willing to put the time in and put things where they need to go. I'm not willing to do that. And therefore, my wife drives me nuts because she's telling me to put things where they should go. And she's upset when I don't put things where they go. So the thing that I love about her is the very thing that is also annoying about her.
Very good. Very good. And when you identify that thing as love,
right,
now in your brain, you've attached a positive connection to that which would on a normal day
right,
bring negative emotions.
That's exactly right. Right.
Awesome.
And when you do it in a class, people start to realize
Awesome.
It's a package deal. If I want someone who's organized, I'm gonna have to
clean up, right?
You're gonna have to get the other one, right? You can't have one without the other.
And even and let's take it one step further, because I know we have I would stay here the whole time until this thing gets done, but we have the rest of the show to go to. Even so, that in fact, the fact that you have someone that is not like you, actually, again, it doesn't have to be spouse. It could be friends, it could be family, it could be colleagues. Expand it out to your life.
Right.
The fact that they're in your life actually rounds you out.
That's right. That's
Amazing.
right. They're the missing part.
Amazing. Rabbi, thank you for being here. Thanks for what you do. Thanks for making it clear.
I love you too, Charlie.
The best.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom, and please in regards to your incredible wife.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was Rabbi Bars. What a great practical exercise that we can be using to put into our lives immediately. Think about it, even on the show, the virtues that you respect in somebody else, especially the virtues that are not you. Now, here's why it's awesome, because, our minds are neuroplastic. It makes connections. When you start to connect a virtue that is not you in someone else that you respect, when that virtue comes up and it may be a little bit much, you start to bring a little more positivity. Incredible concept, no? Okay, we got a great video coming up next from Rabbi Twersky. Speaks about our ability to understand love in a little bit of a different way. Check this out.
Young man, why are you eating that fish? The young man says, because I love fish. He says, oh, you love the fish. That's why you took it out of the water and killed it and boiled it. He says, don't tell me you love the fish. You love yourself. And because the fish tastes good to you, therefore, you took it out of the water and killed it and boiled it. So much of what is love, right, is fish love, right? And so, young couple falls in love. Young man and young woman fall in love. What does that mean? That means that he saw in this woman someone who he felt could provide him with all of his physical and emotional needs. And she saw in this man somebody she feels that she can write. That was love, right? But each one is looking out for their own needs. Right? It's not love for the other. The other person becomes a vehicle for my gratification. Too much of what is called love is fish love. Right? An external love is not on what I'm going to get, but what I'm going to give. We had an ethicist, Rabbi Dessler, who said the people make a serious mistake in thinking that you give to those whom you love. And the real answer is, you love those to whom you give. Right? And his point is, if I give something to you, I've invested myself in you. Right? And since self-love is a given. Everybody loves themselves. Now that part of me has become in you, right, there's part of me in you that I love. Right? So true love is a love of giving, not a love of receiving.
Thank you, Rabbi Twersky. What an incredible distinction of what love really is. It is now time for Kahoot. It's almost 8:30. We're going to get to our Kahoot now, so everybody check it out. This is the time in which we get to compete with each other for fun prizes. Check out the Kahoot. Go to the code 4921036, 4921036. We're going to give everybody like a minute to get on. So just go to kahoot.it if it's on your computer. If you don't have the app, you'll probably too late to download the app, but you can just go to the App Store for next week. But go to kahoot.it, just punch in the code. We'll give everybody an extra minute. So I'm positive that my mom gets on 4921036. Everybody jump onto Kahoot. Yes, last week we had a new player, Rabbi Friedman's mom, win. We've been having incredible new guests playing, including some of our old winners as well. You don't want to miss Kahoot this week or any other week. 4921036. While people are popping on, I want to wish a couple of Shabbat Shaloms. First and foremost to the Bagun Bolton family, Shabbat Shalom. To Eileen Hirsch in Milwaukee, Shabbat Shalom. Linda from Boston, Shabbat Shalom. To Ricky in Montreal, Shabbat Shalom. To the Silver family in Highland Park, New Jersey, thank you. And Shabbat Shalom to the Novak family in Toronto. The Mervis family in Silver Spring, Shabbat Shalom. And thank you all for joining. To Joanne Kodesh, Shabbat Shalom to you. To Jim in Australia, Shabbat. We got this. That's phenomenal. We got Jim from Australia on. That's awesome. Rivka Tyler is on. Shabbat Shalom to you. Give everybody one more minute to get on. One more minute to get back on to Kahoot. Check it out one more time. Maura Bela, Shabbat Shalom. To Debbie Simon, Shabbat Shalom. To Helene, Shabbat Shalom. Goldie and Jerry Tauber of Ballackinwood, Shabbat Shalom to you guys. That's the Jamie Geller family. Lily from Montreal, Shabbat Shalom. Okay, let's get ready. To my amazing producers, let's get rolling with Kahoot. Here we go. First question. Okay, statistically, who is more likely to fall in love first? Women, men, no difference. Dumb question. Statistically, who is more likely to fall in love first? Women, men, no difference. Dumb question. Shabbat Shalom to Michael Weingart from Germany. Shabbat Shalom to Rana Adler. Shabbat Shalom to you guys. Jennifer Crank, Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for tuning in. 10 seconds left in the first question. The Hess family in Fairlawn, Shabbat Shalom. Bella Friedman, the Kahoot champ of last week, Shabbat Shalom. Here we go. First answer is men. Men. You saw that coming. That's great. Men. You know what? Shout out to those who made these questions. ADH, Winnonomata. Winnonomata was here last week, for those who remember. Ken Salkover has been on. And the two Rachels. The two Rachels have been here as well. Okay, let's go to number 2. According to the Gallup poll, which country is ranked number 1 in people feeling love? Number 1 country for love. Philippines, Ukraine, Morocco, or France? I know where people are going to go. We should have a bet on what people say, regardless of what the right answer is. I have my sense of where people are going. Mark and Michelle Mandelman of Montvale, New Jersey, Shabbat Shalom to you. Yal Zellinger, Shabbat Shalom. Eliyahu in Baltimore, Shabbat Shalom. Leah Peril, New York, Shabbat Shalom. 3 seconds on this question. Answer is the Philippines. I knew you'd go with France. You got to understand that if you're going with France, it ain't going to be France. The Philippines. I don't know how we had people that even said the Philippines, but that's awesome. The Philippines, let's see what we did. Ken Salkover, Giants Rock are coming in, I think, to take on the Patriots Rock. ZADH and Winnow Mattis on the board. Number 3, here we go. According to the Gallup poll, which country was ranked 136 in people feeling loved? Okay, 136. Croatia, Zimbabwe, Armenia, and India. So that's pretty low down. So which country needs to watch this show over and over and over again? Shabbat Shalom to Tanya and Austin Freeman in Toronto. Isabella and Leora Kanchik from Brooklyn, Shabbat Shalom. Maishi and Francis from Toronto, Shabbat Shalom to you. 2 seconds left. Armenia. Okay, yeah. I don't know. I've never been to Armenia. I don't know what's going on over there, but they can use some love. The Rachels are climbing up together. That's cool how the Rachels are next to each other. ADH Ken is still on. JS Shift CPA's on. Okay, last question. Here we go. This chemical is released in the brain when experiencing love towards a partner or when a mother gives birth or nurses. What chemical? Adrenaline, epinephrine, oxytocin, or acetaminophen. I don't know how I pronounce that third one. Which one of these chemicals are released in the brain when a mother or when someone you feel love to a partner or a mother gives or nurses? When you're feeling love, which one of these are hitting? And the answer is oxytocin. A lot of people know that. Okay, let's see how we close out here. Third place, Rachel S. Congratulations. Second place is probably ADH. Congratulations. Please identify yourself, ADH. On the chat, please. We want to know who you are. Rachel S. again. Wow. I would like to meet you both, Rachel S's. Make sure that you are please identifying yourself. If we were sitting on a podium right now, you'd have two Rachels getting up, getting the gold and the bronze. Congratulations, everybody. I know everyone else placed, but hope you did well. And thank you to our phenomenal producers who really continue week after week to produce the Kahoot game. We got another Project Inspired partner, Jamie Pearl, who we asked to define love. Check this out.
Hi, Charlie. My name is Jamie Pearl, and I live in Manhattan on the Upper West Side. I've been involved with Project Inspire since 2012. And what we've been doing all these years is, just cultivating and trying to get new programs. And the Queen City leaders have been really instrumental in getting us to do things. And we really inspired to have some more learning. So we started Soul Chat. And Soul Chat is taking some of the city leaders and some of our participants, and we talk about different topics every week, whether, holidays that are coming up and things that, interest us and all the different talents that a lot of our participants have, and also what the city leaders have to offer. And, it's very interactive. It's open to whoever wants to join, and it's been really wonderful. We've been doing that, I would say, for about 1.5 years. And it's been really, really successful. I would define love by just the fact that people are interested. They want to learn, they want to hear. We love listening to the Shabbat show because we get to see people from all over the country, talking and discussing the different groups and what they're doing and, all the wonderful, wonderful things that Project Inspire does. And I would say that's about it. I think it's great, and I encourage anyone who wants to get involved. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful organization, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Jamie, for those kind words. Some new information rolling in right now. Apparently, the Rachel S's are sisters. Or siblings. That's phenomenal. Congratulations to both you and that family. Congratulations to your parents. They ship nachas from you. And also there's apparently a lot of chatter going on here that I think there's a lot of women that had no idea that men fall in love first. So there's a lot going on here in the Shabbat show. And you think that Kahoot isn't educational? Oh yeah, it is. Oh yeah, it is. Our next guest, we're going to go across the pond to meet our next guest. Rebbitzin Esti Hamilton has been a teacher and lecturer for the last 18 years in London. Rebbitzin Esti has taught and inspired women both in London and communities all over the world. Rebbitzin Esti teaches classes on spiritual growth, character building, and relationships, as well as running support groups for parents with disabled children. Esti and her husband, Rabbi Yoni Hamilton, a practicing psychotherapist, have been blessed with 6 children and currently reside in the UK. You can find some of her lectures on Torah Anytime or her website, rebbitzinesti.com. I had a chance to catch up with Rebbitzin Esti earlier this week. check out this interview. Thank you, Rebbitzin Esti, for joining us. It's an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a privilege to be here with you tonight.
We're talking about the topic of love. Now, many times when people talk about love, it really sort of moves us or requires us to be giving to people. And how does one navigate that, right? When you're in a situation when you're loving somebody, it should really be unconditional. But then at the same time, you got to take care of yourself. What is the way one can navigate around this concept of love being unconditional?
So when my husband and I first got married, we got married in London and then we moved to Israel. And a year later, we had a baby boy. And this baby boy was born very, very sick. We actually didn't know it at the time. He even had his bris on time. At about 10 days old, he started to have seizures. We were rushed to hospital and we stayed in that hospital till my son was 2 years old. And as they kind of did all these tests on him, they realized how many things were wrong with him. He had holes in his heart. He was missing a kidney. The amount of medical things that were wrong with him. He had underdeveloped lungs. He wasn't breathing properly, couldn't eat by himself. And there I was sitting in this hospital with my brand new husband and my brand new son. And the doctors were very not hopeful for his survival. They told us things like he wouldn't live to see his second birthday, and that basically we were going to be sitting in this hospital, and just until, his life ended and there was no hope. And I remember thinking after a few months, I have lots of emotions. Some are sadness, but some are like anger and disappointment. And I was trying to separate out what of my emotions have got to do with the situations and what of my emotions has got to do with my expectation of what kind of life I was meant to have or what kind of life my child was meant to have. Because when you are pregnant for 9 months and you talk about this child that's going to come into the world, you have so many thoughts about who they're going to be and how excited you are that you're going to start this family and it's so exciting, and what's going to happen next. And you have already imagined in your mind, not only a bris, but maybe an upshare, and not only like maybe bar mitzvah, maybe one day, he's going to be this or that. And you speak about your baby as already a fully grown person. In your mind, you're already imagining everything. And then this child comes into the world that perhaps won't be here for very long with so many difficulties. This wasn't what I was expecting to happen. Wasn't what my child was going to be. How can that be? And I suddenly had like a light bulb moment. When in your life, when you have these epiphanies, you suddenly see things clearly. Just for a minute, you suddenly see things clearly. I thought to myself, I love this baby. I do. I love this baby so much. I'm sitting by his bedside every single second. I don't want to leave him even for a moment, even to eat or drink or anything. I just want to stay by his side. And if I love him only because he's going to be something that later I'm going to be able to say to everybody, look what I made, then I am loving him conditionally. It's on condition.
Right.
But if you understand that everybody in this world is brought here for a purpose and a reason, and therefore everybody is born exactly the way they're supposed to be born to be able to fulfill their purpose in this world, then my son right now, right here, he has everything that he needs in order to be in this world. And therefore I, as a mother or as a person, can love him just for exactly who he is.
Wow.
And it was a kind of epiphany of loving somebody for their mere existence, with no strings attached, no expectation for the future. There's nothing else. They have a soul, they have an neshama, they're here in this world, and I can just love their existence. Taught me a huge lesson that I took into everything else that I did in my future life. Thank God we have many other children who are all like bouncing around the house crazy. And somebody once said to me, Esti, every time one of your children walk into a room, your whole face lights up. That's what they said to me. And I don't even notice that I do that. And I thought to myself, yes, because I am just reveling in their beingness. Wow. I am just so happy that they exist. And there is no expectation. And when you love someone, just like you said before, when you love someone in that way, and you really get to know your children. Like, you know, your children's good points and bad points. You know what they're going to have to work on when they're adults. You know their struggles that they're having right now and what's going to be a hindrance for them and what's going to help them. You know, everybody comes into this world with work that they have to do. But just to know that their existence, their being here, is something so special and wondrous that you can let them, love them in that space. From there, they can flourish. And that's really what unconditional love is. Unconditional love is giving somebody the space to be exactly who they need to be.
That's amazing. And I love that concept. And I think it's something that we can put into practice if we would just change our perspective, right? It doesn't require us buying anything or doing anything. Really, this is in our eyes, and being able to see the world from somebody else's perspective, and just being happy with their existence is just such a credible approach. And Rebbetzin Esti, thank you so much for your time and for your contribution. We are smarter because of you today, and I hope that we are also able to be greater givers and people that love unconditionally. Thank you so much for being part of this.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
One of the things I think that we're seeing again and again is this idea of our perspective. You remember when Rabbi David Aaron spoke about it earlier in the show, about this perspective, seeing the world and being able to love somebody unconditionally. And so thank you, Rebbetzin Esti, for that. Remember, we have one-on-ones. Remember the one-on-one program that Project Inspire is constantly pushing, because they recognize how critical it is. If you don't have a one-on-one study partner, you got to get one. Text one-on-one to 97,000. It is a custom, bespoke learning opportunity that you don't want to miss. Before we get to the next video, I want to give a shout out. ADH is our one and only Andrea Heitman. The Heitman families are the pillars of Project Inspire. And we want to just congratulate her for an incredible performance today. See, what's happening is we're bringing out all of our Kahoot winners throughout the show. So congratulations, and keep it up. And we thank you so much for your support, partnership, friendship, and all that you do for the Jewish people. Our next video is loving others the way we want to love. Check this out.
A friend of mine was tragically paralyzed by a horrible car accident. Not able to eat on his own, he relies on others to kindly feed him. Here's a powerful insight and lesson he shared. When people feed me, I often have to remind them to give me the cooked vegetables. They almost exclusively serve me the meat or fish, but not the cooked vegetables. Even after I ask, please, I would like some of the cooked vegetables. They give me a forkful, but will not offer me more unless I specifically ask. I realize that people naturally feed me the food they like, and if they don't like cooked vegetables, it simply doesn't dawn on them that I do. I learned this very same lesson shopping for a dress with my wife. She asked me to check out the racks and see if there was anything I'd suggest. I pulled out one dress, and to my surprise, my wife was appalled by my choice. That's not my color. What do you mean it's not your color? I like it. Who are you wearing it for if not me? So I pulled out another dress. That's not my color. What are you talking about? Who says you have a color? Go ask the owner. He's a dress designer. What do you think of this dress? It's perfect. You see, for you, it's your color, not your wife's. Husbands do this all the time. They pick the color that fits them, but not their wives. We all know the golden rule, love your neighbor as yourself. But often people miss the profound point. To love your neighbor as yourself means just as you want and need to be loved in the unique way that is preferable and meaningful to you, so too love your neighbor in the unique way they want and need to be loved. Learn and speak the love language that your loved ones understand, appreciate, and respond to.
We thank you, Rabbi Aaron, for another pearl of wisdom. Our next guest is Rabbi David Goldwasser. Rabbi Goldwasser is the rabbi of Kal B'nai Yitzchak in Brooklyn, New York. He's a prominent Torah personality, a renowned Maggid Shir, syndicated columnist, daily radio commentator, and an acclaimed speaker known for his exceptional ability to captivate and inspire audiences worldwide. His lectures are accessed around the globe by thousands of people through select media outlets. A popular author of over a dozen books, Larry Goldwasser is a recognized expert in the field of education and mental health. He spends countless hours consulting students, couples, and families who seek guidance and direction with their challenges, and writes extensively on the subject. Rabbi, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be together with you, Reb Charlie, and the Shabbat show. What a Kiddush Hashem, spreading the glory of God.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. It is an honor to have you on. As you know, I have been a fan for years, and I appreciate all that you do for the Jewish people, and thank you for making us better every single day.
Thank you as well. I appreciate it.
We are talking about love and in understanding it better, and I want to sort of drill down to one category, which is children. Many times when we're dealing with children, we may, like we just heard, not fully understand what they need, what they want from their superiors, from their adults, parents, teachers. How does one understand love as they're relating to children?
The understanding has to be that it is my job to love the child with my entire heart, with my whole being. The child may be different than I am. The child may be opposite than me, but that doesn't matter. It's an interesting idea. They say that love is when difference does not make a difference. Has absolutely no bearing on the fact. The father, according to the Maharal, the great Rabbi Lowy, the father is of Aleph, Beis, first two letters of the Hebrew alphabet. The son or the daughter is Beis, either Bat for a daughter or Ben for a son. A child is an extension of the parent. However, the child is not a copy of the parent. The child is not someone that has to exactly imitate the parent. The child may have their own derech, may have their own road, may have their own path. And it's okay, because we can all do our thing and we can all serve Hashem in our own way. And it's beautiful. If you got a symphony and everyone there is playing a violin, it's a little boring. If you got a violin and you got an oboe and you got drums, and you got a cello and you got a bass and you got all the different instruments, then it's interesting. In our own family, sometimes we may have what we think is an ugly duckling, but that ugly duckling has such beauty. We got to grow to understand it and appreciate it.
Wow. And it's such an incredible point, this idea of the extension, not the copy. How important is it, especially for those that are even teaching children, how important is it for their own self-esteem and their growth to feel that people love them just for them? How critical, and how does one build up the self-esteem in others so that one day they can love as well?
Interesting thing. I was invited to speak for one of the local programs where they have the boys learning with the fathers, the girls learning with the mothers. They asked me to say a story and to give a small Devar Torah, a Torah thought. And afterwards, there were about 120, 130 boys. They asked me to join them for pizza. They have in the social recreational hall. So I'm going to be a good sport. I went down and I sat on the bench and they passed out the pizza. And there was a little boy sitting next to me. They have a raffle. And it's the most interesting thing to get the boys to come. They raffle off toys and small things and everything. So the child next to me, I try to make a little conversation with. And when it came time to call out the raffle, the kid didn't even pick up his ticket to see his number. So I said, why don't you look at your number? Maybe you won. He says, I never win anything.
Wow.
I felt so bad. Where'd that child get it from? Why is that in his mind? I said, listen, come on, I want to see if you won. Please try it. He turned the ticket over. They called him. Wasn't a big prize, but it was something. He came back and he says, I only won because the Rebbe was sitting next to me. but the self-esteem, we got to give it. A parent, a teacher's got to say, I don't care if you make an A. I don't care if you make a C. I don't care if you make below failing. You're going to be a star. You're going to learn. You're going to excel. I don't care what you do in life. I don't care if you are a shoemaker and you make the best shoes. I don't care if you're a baker and you bake the best challahs. I don't care if you fix and repair appliances and you do the best job. Be the best that you can do and be marbe kavod shamayim. Spread the glory of Hashem. In the Mishnah we read, Rabbi, the sandler, the one who fixed the shoes, great tzaddikim, nashim tzidkonios, great righteous people, stars, and they had regular jobs. Chafetz Chaim, Rabbi Yisrael Meir Cohen, he was a grocer. What would his rabbi have said? What would his parents say? Your grocery, is that what we want to do? Stand behind the counter calculating, adding up the pretzels and the candy? Maybe, maybe. That is how we give self-esteem. I love you because you are a star. You're my child, you're my student. I owe it to you and I give it to you straight from my heart. There is nothing in the world that is better to me than you. And even if you had a bad day and I get a call from the principal, I get a call from the teacher, even they want to throw you out of the school, God forbid, you're the best. Everybody has a few days that they're not so good. Everybody, you read the L'Tzorech Aliyah, sometimes you go down to go up. So every day is not the greatest day. You can't hit the home run every day. Tell the child, you're going to be great. Don't pay attention to it. March on. You're going to greatness.
Wow, what an incredible perspective. I think as parents and as teachers, we seem to forget this. We think that when we hold back this incredible investment in our children as if like we're getting them to work harder. And what you're saying clearly is it's actually the opposite. As you pour confidence into children, you build them into bigger and bigger people. Rabbi, thank you so much for joining us. I know your time is so limited, and it's just such an honor to have you on.
It's a pleasure and a zechut, and everybody should have a wonderful Shabbat, and the program should continue throughout the world to bring Mashiach.
Amen. Amen. I'm makabel that. Thank you so much. And that was Rabbi Goldwasser. Like I said, I have been a fan of the rabbi for so many years, and you now got a glimpse of why. He is an individual who believes in every single human being, and just being in his presence lifts you up. This week, we've got some great programming coming up for Project Inspire. Tuesday and Wednesday, 9 p.m., two-part series, The Incredible Journey of the Traveling Hasidim, a two-part interview by Yossi Friedman. These guys are awesome. You got to check out the Traveling Hasidim. It's a shame that we don't have these live weekends like we had back in the old days. I mean, last year. They would rock the place. Check out this week, 9 p.m., Mindflex. And I think in summation of today, we have to recognize and realize that love is the most critical gifts that we have for ourselves, but also that we have to share with others. We have this incredible ability by giving unconditionally, by loving, by seeing the values and the virtues in other people, by believing in people. We have this ability to raise them up, to embolden them, to empower them. I think that's what Shabbat's all about. It's about taking a minute to realize that God really loves us. He built this whole world. He made us his partners. And he slowed it down one day a week so that as we run around to try to get and become and get and become and go and go and go, one day we get to sit back and we don't have to do anymore. We get to just be. And the only reason why we get to be is because God looks down on us and goes, I don't love you for what you do. I love you for who you are. My day, the day of Shabbat, is a day where you can't do. Because if you think that I love you because you do this and you do that and you're this important, I'm proud of it. That's not why I love you. I love you because who you are, and just take a day and be alone with me. Shabbat. No matter where you are in this world, no matter where you're watching from, the creator universe loves you just for who you are. And the greatest way we could be is we can be like God. And the greatest thing we can do when you act like God is you can share that with others. You can love the people around you, whether they're related to you, whether you're teaching them, whether you're friends with them, whether you're just part of the same nation or part of the same humanity. When you take the time to realize that We all have some special part of ourselves. And when we start to see the world from someone else's perspective, when we start to see the virtues in others, when we start to love them unconditionally, when we start to realize that everyone's a star in their own way, we not only build the love that's coming from us to them, we actually build them up. That's our mission. That's our goal. That's how we emulate our Creator. And that's what we remind ourselves of every single Shabbos. Every Shabbat, we got to stop for a second, take a deep breath and say, the Creator of all humanity loves me. I don't know why, but it doesn't matter. He sees something in me that maybe I don't see in myself, but I got to take his word for it. Because if he loves me, that means I'm special and I'm unique and I'm worthy of that love. And if I'm worthy of that love, then I want to give that feeling to everybody around me. And so on behalf of me and mine to you and yours, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom. May this be a Shabbat where we realize how much we are loved. And may we love others in the truest way, in the greatest way, in the most empowering way, and light up the world one person at a time. I hope and pray next week to see you in Jerusalem live, but if not, hope to see you here next week for another Shabbat show with God's help. Until then, have an incredible weekend, good Shabbos, and Shabbat Shalom.
We together call it I do, with every generation they take one, raising the haters, then the ship hit the pavement, blazing the savers, then the world asks where they went. Patience are faithless, the trouble give the whole world a facelift. If hatred is baseless, we take it, erase it, and exchange it for that master goal. We don't forget wherever we may go, there was only one place we know, and it's called zero. We won.
And you're just falling down, falling down. I'll pick you up, and if you feel like you're outnumbered on a battleground,